first thing Commander Zale noticed about the human ship was how small it was. Not threatening small, pathetically small. It drifted through the edge of the Varan Nebula like a wounded insect, hull scorched black, one engine dead, the other coughing pulses of blue exhaust like a dying heartbeat. His scanners showed 43 life signs inside. 43 soft, fragile, warm-blooded creatures from a backwater planet that the Galactic Tribunal had classified as Grade 4, pre-contact, pre-worthy, pre-everything. Zale leaned back in his command throne and laughed. "Pull them in," he said. "Carefully. I don't want them damaged before the auction." His officers moved fast. The Varan Empire didn't get rich by hesitating. The cargo hold of the Eternal Dominion smelled like iron and old fear. Every species that had ever been dragged through those doors had left something behind. Terror had a scent, and this ship had collected centuries of it. The humans stumbled in one by one, blinking under the harsh white lights. They were unremarkable. Average height for carbon-based life, soft skin in varying shades, wide eyes that darted everywhere, taking in the guards, the walls, the ceiling, each other. Some were crying. Some were holding hands. One older male with gray at his temples was counting heads quietly, lips moving, making sure no one was missing. Zale watched them through the surveillance feed and felt nothing except mild satisfaction. 43, confirmed his first officer, Mara, tapping her data tablet. Crew of a survey vessel. The manifest says they were mapping asteroid fields in Sector 9. Mapping. Zale smiled. How charming. They're Grade 4, Mara reminded him, not because she thought he'd forgotten, but because she was meticulous. Tribunal classification means they have no protected status. Legal acquisition. Of course it's legal. He stood, straightening the black panels of his uniform. When has the Empire ever done anything illegal? Mara didn't answer that. She'd served under Zale for 11 years. She knew better. Down in the hold, the humans were being separated. The guards, tall, gray-skinned Varans with 4 arms and sensor implants that glowed amber along their jawlines, moved through the group with practiced efficiency. Older ones to the left, younger to the right. The criteria were simple. Value. Most of the humans went quietly, frightened and confused and far from home, but one didn't move. She was standing near the center of the group, completely still, arms loose at her sides, not frozen with fear, just still, like a stone in the middle of a river, letting everything rush past. The guard stopped in front of her, raised one hand and pointed left. She looked at his hand, then up at his face. "No," she said. The hold went silent. The guard's amber sensors flared bright. No Grade 4 organism had ever refused a direct command on this ship. The concept wasn't part of his protocol training because it had never happened. He pointed again, harder this time. "I said no." Her voice was quiet, almost gentle, but it didn't waver at all. His fourth arm shot out to grab her shoulder. What happened next took 0.4 seconds. She stepped inside his reach, grabbed the arm by the joint, and redirected it with a sharp rotation that put him face first into the metal floor with a sound like a dropped cargo container. He didn't get up. She stood over him for exactly 1 second. Then she looked up at the camera in the corner of the ceiling, directly at it, as if she knew Zale was watching, and she waited. Zale was on his feet without realizing he'd stood up. "Who is she?" he asked quietly. Mara was already pulling her file. Lieutenant Commander Elena Vasquez, Earth Survey Corps. Age 31. Prior service record. Mara paused. "It's encrypted. Tribunal-level encryption. Break it. Tribunal-level encryption." "Commander, tribunal encryption requires break it." He hadn't taken his eyes off the feed. On the screen, Elena Vasquez was calmly helping the guard she'd floored back to his feet, as if she'd just knocked something off a shelf by accident and was being polite about it. She said something to him. The guard, twice her mass, 4-armed, trained since childhood, took one careful step backward. "What did she say?" Zale asked. The audio tech pulled it up. Her voice came through the speaker, clear and completely calm. "The next one who touches anyone in my crew loses the arm." They put her in a private cell. It was more respect than any Grade 4 had ever received on the Eternal Dominion, but Zale told himself it was just practical. She was clearly more valuable than standard inventory. Separate her, evaluate her, price her accordingly. He told himself that for about 6 hours. Then he went to see her himself. She was sitting on the floor of the cell with her back against the wall, knees up, eyes closed. She looked like someone waiting for a delayed transport. Not a prisoner, not a slave. Just someone with somewhere better to be, killing time. When the door opened, she didn't flinch or scramble to her feet. She just opened her eyes. They were dark brown, almost black, completely steady. "Commander Zale," she said. "I wondered when you'd come." He stopped. "You know who I am. I've been studying your species for 3 years." She tilted her head slightly. "The Empire runs on fear and efficiency. When something unusual happens, the commander comes to assess it personally. You're efficient. I expected you 40 minutes ago, actually." Zale pulled a chair from the wall panel and sat down across from her. He was tall enough that sitting still put them almost at eye level. "You're not afraid," he observed. "I didn't say that. You show no signs of fear." She looked at him with an expression he couldn't fully classify. "My species has been afraid since before we could walk upright. We're afraid of the dark, of dying, of losing the people we love. We've been afraid every single day of our existence." Applause. "We just decided a long time ago that it doesn't stop us." The silence between them was different from any silence Zale had experienced in an interrogation room. Usually silence meant submission. This silence felt like two people studying each other across a very complicated game board. "Why were you really in Sector 9? He asked. She smiled. "Just slightly. Mapping asteroids. The encryption on your service record suggests otherwise." "Then break the encryption." "We're trying. Good luck." She leaned her head back against the wall. "You'll be at it a while." He was. 40 hours later, Mara came to his command room with a face that Zale had only seen twice in 11 years. The expression she wore when something had shaken her. "We broke the encryption," she said. "And?" She put the tablet on his desk without a word. He read it once. Then again. Then he sat very still for a long time. Elena Vasquez, Survey Corps. Yes. Also, 12 years prior service in the Earth Defense Initiative, a military organization that the Tribunal had classified as non-existent because the Tribunal's survey drones had found no military presence on Earth's surface, because the Earth Defense Initiative operated underground, literally, carved into the roots of mountains, sealed under ocean floors, hidden inside the bones of the planet itself. 300 million trained soldiers. The strongest military force, by body mass, by pain tolerance, by sustained combat endurance, that any surveyed species in the galaxy had ever produced. The Tribunal drones had missed it completely, because humans, Zale was reading now with a growing sensation he would later identify as dread, had been preparing for first contact for over 60 years, not with hope, with strategy. They had looked up at the stars and, based on every pattern in their own history, assumed that whoever came first would come to take something. They had been right, and they had let themselves be taken. The survey vessel, the 43 crew, the mappers. "It's a probe," Mara said quietly. She let herself get captured. They all did. Zale's eyes moved to the last line of the file. Earth Defense Initiative Protocol 7. In the event of hostile first contact, deploy embedded reconnaissance assets to assess enemy capability, command structure, and weakness. Assets are authorized to reveal partial capability to provoke response. Partial capability. "How many ships are currently within range of our position?" Zale asked. His voice came out very carefully controlled. Mara checked the scanner console. 42, she said. "All there in Imperial class. We are the largest in the fleet." "And Earth vessels?" A pause. A long pause. "Mara." 217, she whispered. "Running dark, no emissions. Just sitting there, surrounding us. They've been there since we picked up the probe ship." Zale stood up slowly. 217 ships. Silent, patient, waiting. Like something that had been afraid its entire existence and had decided somewhere along the way that fear was a fuel. He went back to her cell. She was standing this time. She'd known before he opened the door. "How long?" he asked. 63 years of preparation," she said. "Every generation since we first detected your long-range survey signals. We didn't know who you were yet. We just knew someone was watching. You could have made contact, opened negotiations. We tried." Something passed across her face, real and old and painful. 70 years ago. Sent 3 ships. Quiet ships, open signals, no weapons. She looked at him steadily. "Your empire disassembled them for parts. Sold the crew." The silence in the cell was enormous. "We decided," Elena said quietly, "that the next meeting would be on our terms." Zale looked at this woman, 31 years old, sitting in a cell on an enemy warship, surrounded by 42 Imperial vessels, and yet somehow the one in this room who was completely and utterly in control. "What do you want?" he asked. She reached into the collar of her uniform and pulled out a small data chip. She'd had it the entire time. His guards had scanned her 3 times and missed it completely because it was bonded to her own bioelectric signature, readable only to human physiology. She held it out to him. "A treaty," she said. "Fair terms, free passage, non-interference, recognition of Earth's sovereign status under galactic law." A pause. "And the return of everyone your empire has taken from Grade 4 worlds in the last 200 years. That's," he started. "Non-negotiables," she said. "Those are the opening terms. We have very patient negotiators." Zale looked at the chip in her hand, then at her face. "And if the Empire refuses?" Elena Vasquez looked at him with those dark, steady eyes that had watched humanity climb up from fear and fire and 10,000 years of surviving things that should have killed them. "Commander," she said softly, "we've been afraid our whole lives. We know exactly how to function that way." She tilted her head toward the ceiling, toward the scanner feeds, toward the 217 dark ships sitting silent around his fleet like a held breath. "Can your empire say the same?" He took the chip. The treaty was signed 14 days later on neutral ground, a station in the Varan Nebula, surrounded by both fleets, under lights that were part Varan white and part the warm gold that humans preferred. It took 300 hours of negotiation. Elena Vasquez led the human delegation. She wore no rank insignia. She brought no weapon. She drank bad station coffee from a metal cup and sat across from admirals and trade lords and tribunal representatives, and never once looked like she was in any danger of losing. On the final day, after the last seal was pressed into the final page, one of the tribunal representatives, ancient, 8-limbed, voice like grinding stone, looked across the table at her. "We surveyed your world," he said. It wasn't quite an apology. The tribunal didn't apologize. "We classified you as pre-contact, pre-worthy, 70 years ago." "I know," Elena said. "We were wrong." She picked up her coffee cup, looked at him over the rim. "Yes," she said, "you were." Outside the station windows, against the colors of the nebula, deep purple and burning orange and the cold, distant white of 1,000 stars, the 2 fleets floated side by side. One of them had come to take. One of them had come prepared. And somewhere in the distance, in the warm blue oceans of a small, unremarkable planet that had spent 60 years digging quietly into its own bones and waiting with patient, terrified, unbreakable hope, 300 million soldiers heard the news. And for the first time in a very long generation, Earth stood down, not because the danger was gone, but because, for once, they had made the galaxy afraid of them first. End of Episode 1.